Hey YouTube, back again for I guess part 2 of my review of the Centerpoint Tactical or CP Tactical red dot, green dot. As I mentioned earlier, this is part number 72601. It's advertised as a 3 MOA red dot, 40 millimeter, and when they say 40 millimeter, they are referring to the body of this optics. The eyepiece, or the exit pupil, is significantly smaller than 40 millimeter. It measures approximately 0.9 inches, or roughly about 23 millimeters. So now, the last time I mentioned in part 1 that I thought that the red dot was actually larger than a 3 MOA, and the only reference that I have is a Bushnell TRS 25, which is advertised also as a 3 MOA. Now, I'm going to attempt to show you what the 3 MOA looks like through both optics. Hopefully you'll be able to see both and you'll know the difference, or hopefully you'll know what I'm talking about. Now that's supposed to be 3 MOA. Now this is the CP Tactical's 3 MOA. Takes a little bit of coordination here, so please bear with me. So you can see the difference there. My subjective observations is that the CP Tactical optics is not as clear, a little hazy through the lenses compared to the Bushnell TRS 25. As you can tell, the eyepiece is significantly larger in the CP Tactical versus the Bushnell, but the Bushnell lens is brighter and cleaner. Right now, a couple of things that I may have missed in the first review, and that is when I bought this optics, there was something trapped in the body of the optics itself. It looked like a piece of styrofoam. And on occasion, when you shake the optics, it appears on the lens itself on the inside. So it's not that big a deal. It's just irritating because it indicates the lack of, I think, quality control. But there is a difference in the size of the dot. It may or may not be that much of a deal to you. I mean, optics range from 2 MOA all the way up to 5. So just wanted you to be aware that there is a difference between the 3 MOA of the Bushnell and the 3 MOA of the CP Tactical. Now, one of the things that I tested this optics for is the ability to maintain zero under 2 conditions. One is shooting at 50 yards and the other is shooting at 100 yards. And I mounted this optic on my Mosin Nagant, and I thought to myself, if there's going to be a rifle to test an optic on, it would be the Mosin, because the Mosin has in my opinion, a pretty substantial kick. So I mounted this. I did use a UTG mount, and I'll show that to you in a moment, but it was a brand new mount. I had not tested it, and I mounted this optic to the Mosin, and I was able to get it on paper at 50, although I was the shots were inconsistent, but I was able to get it on paper, and I was not able to get it on paper at 100. And I thought to myself, either this optics is whacked, or my mount is not working properly, or possibly my Mosin can't shoot worth a plug nickel. I took the CP Tactical and mounted it to my Mosin Nagant and took it out to the range, and I was able to get it on paper at about 50 yards, but I was not able to get it onto paper at about 100, and so I started the process of ruling out the cause for my inability to get it on paper at 100 yards, and I thought to myself, either the optic is not performing as I had expected, or I actually had hoped, or this UTG mount that I just purchased and mounted to my Mosin just wasn't working properly, or possibly the Mosin Nagant is just a poor shooter. In any event, what I did was I swapped the Bushnell TRS 25 with the CP Tactical, and I mounted the Bushnell to the Mosin Nagant and the CP Tactical to my Palmetto State AR-15. I had previously sighted in the TRS 25 Bushnell, and I was spot on with this particular rifle, so I knew the optics was pretty decent, and would probably I guess rule out the mount or the rifle as a possible cause for the inability to get on paper at 100 yards with the Mosin Nagant and the CP Tactical. So we switched out the optics, and I mounted this particular product to the Mosin Nagant and sighted it in. I got on paper at 50. I was right on at the 100-yard mark, and then I proceeded to shoot targets out at the 250-yard mark with this optic. I was able to hit a steel target that's a little bit larger than a pie pan, I guess you would call it, with this optic, and was able to duplicate that feat. So I know, first of all, the optic was right on, the mount was functioning as expected, and surprisingly, the Mosin was pretty accurate. So that ruled out the rifle, the mount, and that left the optic. I had problems sighting in this particular optic on this rifle. For one thing, it's too low. So what you'll see through the optic is the front sight, because it's just too low. So if you're going to use it, then you need to mount the appropriate spacer so that you get a little height on this optic. Unfortunately, I was not able to get on paper at 100 yards. It was frustrating for me. So, it's not looking good for this optic. It doesn't seem to be able to hold its zero at 50 or at 100. But in order to be fair to this optic, what I'll end up doing is getting an appropriate riser to raise the level of this optic so that I could shoot properly over and above the front sight. And I will update this video accordingly. But for the time being, it doesn't look promising. This optic will probably be returned or relegated to light duty on either a 22 LR or my Ruger 1022 or an airsoft gun.